No, this isn't a museum. This is right in my dollhouse. And I made these beautiful watercolor paintings. And I'm going to show you how to do the same thing. Don't be scared. It's really easy. Hello, my crafty dolls. Welcome to my craft room. I am Grandma Katie. I am so glad you're here because today we are doing a really fun project. We are going to make little watercolor paintings for the dollhouse. Now, don't be scared when I say watercolor paintings because I am going to show you a really cool trick on how to avoid all the hard parts of painting, like composition and horizon lines and sketching and trying to draw a tree. We're going to eliminate all that because we're going to let the paint do all the work for us. And the best part is that this trick is going to give us a ton of paintings, and you can knock about 50 of these out a day. So I'm going to do a whole bunch for my frames, for my wall gallery, for the wall gallery of my dollhouse, and then a whole bunch of them I'm going to put on the walls, I think, of my little art studio. So all you're going to need for this project is watercolor paper. Basic watercolor paper. This is 90-pound watercolor paper, watercolors, and some little frames. These I found at the craft store. Hobby Lobby has these. In fact, these are little mirrors, so I just took the mirrors out. But you can find these over by the dollhouse section. They even have golden frames over by the scrapbook section. And they're like real frames. I don't know how they fit into a scrapbook, but there they are. So you can go over there too. These little frames I got over by the jewelry section. So these would probably be like little necklaces. They have all shapes and sizes over there. So if you want to go and buy some little frames. And then you're going to need, if you want, you can use black micron pens. This is optional. I like to add a little bit of detail, gives it a little pop, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So let's get started. I just want you to know that I really want you to just let the paint flow and let the water flow and try not to think too much. Don't think about making a sky or a tree. Just let the paint just flow. And you are going to be surprised on what the paint will actually create for you. So let's get started. It's going to be fun. So this is an easy way to just don't even think and paint. So it's very relaxing. You're going to start with just a pretty big brush, a jar of 2 waters, so one for rinsing and one for using a wash. And I'm using 90-pound paper, and just tear one off. And you don't need a big sheet because we're just going to use a small area. And I'm not even going to tape it down. A lot of times, you tape your paper down. I'm not even going to do that. It's going to be really easy going. And of course, you want to spray your watercolors just to activate them. And you're going to let those soak in a little bit. So give it a few minutes. And we're mainly going to use blue because we're going to do sort of some skies. And all I'm going to do is now we're going to do wet paint on dry paper. So and I have a blue palette here. I love these palettes they have. They have little palettes and they have different colors. They have blue, green, ocean. They're all so cool. So I'm just going to take my blue and there is just no rhyme or reason to this. And we are just going to make some strokes. It doesn't matter. Go back and forth. Choose a different color. Go back and forth. And what's nice about this is we are going to cut out our paintings after we've done this. So You can just be as free as you want. Just make some blue, random shapes all across. Leave some white space too. And you can do a couple of these. Experiment, maybe some darker. There. That is it. We are going to let this dry. Don't fuss on it too much. That is it. This is all we want. And we are going to let this dry. Okay, and then I'm going to do a second one just for fun. I'm going to do wet on wet. So I'm going to take my clean water and I'm going to saturate my paper real well, get it nice and wet. Again, I'm not even going to tape it down. I'm going crazy. So I'm just going to, so we're going to do wet on wet. And we're going to see what kind of different effect we get. I'm going to take my same blues and I am just going to add blue to this, just random. We're going to see the different effect we get. And so basically what we're doing is we're creating a little landscape, and this is the sky. And this just makes it fun. It just helps you to just put color on the paper and not think about it. The paint is going to do all the work for you. And here, I think I'm even going to add just a little bit of yellow. See what, maybe we get different sunset colors. We'll see what that does for us. So we'll do a little bit of yellow on the top. So just experiment. And you're going to see what we're going to do with this. All right, and that's it. You don't need to do too much. So we're going to let that dry. I did a little bit darker on the top, and then I did some lighter. I kind of made it lighter on the bottom. So we have a lot of choices to make when we cut out our little paintings. All right, and just for fun, I want to do a third one. So I'm going to do wet on wet again. And this time I'm going to use a little bit more green so it look more like trees, more landscapey in the background. That makes sense? And then we're going to go take some green. And then where it's a little bit lighter, I'm going to add a little bit of green. All different greens. You can dab a little bit. Make them maybe look like trees. And it's wet on wet, so that paint is really going to start to flow. We're going to see what kind of look that gives us. Down here, I'm going to do the same thing, but maybe a little different. I think I'm just going to do blobs and see what kind of look we get with that. Go in with different colors. You can let this dry and go back and do it again if you want. And I think up on the top here, I'm just going to add a little bit more. All right, and that's good. Just don't do too much. And we're going to let this dry and see how this looks. Okay, now our pages are dry, and you can see it almost looks like a little bit of a rustic watercolor landscape already. And that is just what we want. Doesn't look like anything right now. Now when you take your your frames, you start putting your frames onto the artwork, and you're going to start to see an image. And here you can see a little sky, cloud, a little hill maybe, and a little prairie, little grass. And you're just going to keep moving your frame around until you find something. Here again, looks like a sky, maybe a line of trees in the background, and a little meadow. This one looks cool. This one looks like a line of trees. And maybe a little lake and a little meadow. You could drop it down a little more. See where the composition feels good. And you keep doing this to each one until you find the right picture. This one almost looks like ocean. Here we have the sky and looks like waves. So go around with your frame and pick out where you want to cut it out. I think this one looks really pretty too. A little soft edge. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit more paint and sort of enhance. So it's just fun to do. The paint tells you what your painting's going to be. So go ahead and go around and trace where you want to cut out your little pictures. This one here is perfect because I can see, looks like we have a little hill here and a meadow and some clouds. So I'm going to go ahead and trace that out. Okay, and all I did is I cut them out, and I did ones that will fit in the frames, and then I also did some random ones that probably won't fit in a frame, but I thought maybe we could put these on the walls of my little art room. And if you used a pencil, you can just easily erase your pencil lines. And now we are just going to add some details to these. I think this one's my favorite. I think this one's going to look really pretty. It almost doesn't need any more details, but we're going to add a little bit. But already it looks like a painting. You could completely put that up in the dollhouse. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not even going to do anything to this one. I'm going to leave it the way it is because I think that one looks perfect. You can see my papers. They're all cut up. I cut them all up. They're all cut up. So really, the paper sort of indicates your painting, and it's really fun to see what you're doing and creating something that you never really planned. So here are some ones that I've already made, and you can see I did the same technique, but then we're going to add some trees in the foreground. So we can add some details, some birds, some flowers. So that's what we're going to do next. You can be as detailed as you want or not. I'm going to mix up a bit of a grass green. That'll look good. And I'm just going to take my painting, and you can see I have the green in the background. And all I'm going to do is come in the foreground and just add a little bit more detail. I mean, just go random. You don't have to really make anything. Just kind of work with what's already there. Just add a little bit more detail. You can go as light or as dark as you want. I'm just going to add a little bit more dimension to that painting. Maybe a little tree up here. Doesn't have to be. We're just making shapes. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. We'll have some flowers in the foreground, and I'm really not making flowers. I'm just going to allude to the fact that there's flowers down here. So we're just going to add a little yellow dots. Add a little color. All right, I'm going to let that dry. Okay, this one, I can almost see the trees. You can almost see that there's trees there. So I'm just going to go right over there, do some blobs. And just go. Like I said, don't try to paint a tree, just do some blobs and it'll all just work out. I am just going to take some paint and kind of brush all this down. There we go. And then I'm just going to let that dry. See what we get. Here I kind of have my ocean view. So I think this one, I'm going to make this part of the beach. So I'm going to put a little brown here. Let's see what we get. So that'll be the beach. Maybe put some birds up here. All right, I'm going to let these dry. And then I'm going to come back in and do one more layer of some green paint. And that should do it. And then we'll add a little bit of pen details. Okay, I let my little paintings dry. And I'm going to go in and do a third layer. So just use the same green. And if you go over it again, it'll be a little darker without changing the color. And again, just dab. Try not to make a tree. Just do some green blobs. Add some lines, some grass. You really don't have to add a lot. For something different, I'm using more of a moss green. Again, try not to paint anything. Just let the brush just dab. Just dab. There we go. All right, we're going to let those dry. Now we're going to do some pen work on these. Okay, now once your little paintings are dry, we're going to add some details with just my little micron pen. And I'm using the smallest one I have, which is like a point 0.005. So all we're going to do is we're going to add some little bit of grass, maybe some tree trunks, some birds flying. You don't have to do this, but I think it just adds a little bit more depth. So here in the foreground here, I am just going to add some wisps, almost like little grass. And again, just go with the flow. We have our little pops of color here. Those can almost be our little flowers. Maybe add some dots for little buds. Add some lines, some detail. And I am just adding detail. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and I'm just going to continue doing this to all of the paintings. And now this one I just added some tall wispy grasses. And that looks pretty cute. For the ocean, this one, I'm really not going to do much. All I think I'm going to do is just put some birds in the back. Maybe 3 little birds flying. Maybe 4. That's it. Then we have our beach. Maybe we can put some spots down by the beach. A little sand if you want. And then there's the beach. All right, here are all my little paintings I did. And I think I'm just gonna have a little gallery wall in the dollhouse. So these are the ones I chose. I just think they look so cute. And it's really easy. This one we didn't do anything to. We just used what was on our original paper, our random washes. Our little bitty ones. This one too, I didn't do anything to. I just did the random wash. Looks very cute. Okay, let's go see what our gallery wall looks like in the house. Okay, here is my gallery wall. And I just love it. Here is the painting that we just used from the paper. We didn't add any more detail to it. Here are the others that we added more detail to. Here's another small one up here that we didn't add any detail to. Our flowers. Here is the beach scene. It really does look like little waves and a little beach. All right, now let's go upstairs to the art studio and see our leftover paintings and what they look like up there. Here we are in the very small and snuggly art room. We have the paintings up on the wall. Grandma Kitty's been busy, and she's got her paintings there to inspire her for the next painting session. I really like the one she's got on the easel. That one turned out really cute. All right, my crafty dolls, that is it for me today. I hope you had fun with this one, and I hope you let the paint just do what it wanted to do and tell you what it wanted to be. And I think this is my favorite because this is probably one of the least paintings I did any work on, and it just told me it wanted to be a beach. And I just think that's just so cute. And what's great about these is that they're small. You can make a ton of them. And it's just so easy. And guys, don't forget to subscribe. I hope you had fun today, and leave me a comment. Let me know how you did on your paintings. And if you don't know what to say, just leave me a yellow heart. Thanks again, you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.